1997 Volvo 850. The headliner is sagging, held up by 12 green pushpins. You check your bank account at 11:43 p.m. while sitting in the driver's seat, the amber check engine light casting a soft orange glow across your hands. The balance is $1,247. It represents the entirety of your financial security, a fragile barrier between survival and complete ruin. If the alternator fails on the drive home to Sullivan Avenue, the $400 repair bill will collapse the delicate structure of your life. This is the baseline of your financial existence, where every decision is a calculation of immediate survival. Part 1. The Kitchen Table. You live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Columbus, Ohio, where the walls are thin enough to transmit the low hum of your neighbor's television. The neighborhood is dominated by the sound of CSX freight trains passing the nearby rail yards. The air in the apartment smells of cheap coffee and damp plaster, the sensory markers of the working poor. During the July humidity, the single-window air conditioning unit rattles constantly, consuming $184 of electricity every month. You eat a dinner consisting of a single box of Kraft macaroni and cheese that costs $1.19, knowing that fresh vegetables are a luxury your budget cannot support. Your mother, Clara, sits at the laminate kitchen table under a flickering fluorescent bulb, her hands worn from 30 years of retail work. Your mother's back has been permanently bent by the scanner geometry, a physical manifestation of 30 years of standing on hard tile. She is sorting paper envelopes into 2 distinct piles, a monthly ritual of triage. One pile is for immediate payment to keep the lights on, while the other is marked for late fees and service disconnect notices. She does not look up when you enter, her attention focused entirely on the numbers that do not add up. At 19, you work the night shift at a local grocery distribution center, earning $11.50 an hour. Your job is to move heavy cardboard crates from the freezing loading dock to the warm staging area. The warehouse spans 450,000 square feet, a massive steel box situated on the edge of the city where land is cheap and zoning is permissive. A digital Honeywell productivity scanner strapped to your forearm tracks your movement, flashing red if you fall behind the target rate. The warehouse is a cavernous monument to efficiency, where human bodies are calibrated to maximize throughput. You lift 40-pound boxes of canned tomatoes for 8 hours, your lower back aching from the repetitive motion. Your supervisor, a man named Dave Miller, stands on a raised platform monitoring the warehouse management software for any drop in efficiency. Your work boots, purchased for $45 from a discount store, have worn thin, allowing the cold concrete floor to numb your feet. Every dollar you earn is pre-allocated to rent, car insurance, and the interest on a high-rate credit card. You tried applying for a credit card at the Ohio State Credit Union, but they rejected your application because your debt-to-income ratio exceeded 45% on paper. You realize that your labor is not building a future, but simply servicing a debt to the past. The math of the bottom tier is relentless, extracting fees for the privilege of having a low balance. Your bank charges a monthly maintenance fee of $12 because your account balance is below the $1,500 threshold. If you deposit your check a day late, the bank charges a $35 overdraft fee, profit generated from your lack of capital. The first rule, at the bottom, your relationship with money is entirely survival, which makes every expense feel like an existential threat. You look at the numbers on your screen and realize that working harder will not change the formula. The system is designed to consume your time and return just enough capital to ensure you return to the warehouse tomorrow. You are trapped in a loop of physical effort and immediate consumption. Part 2. The Mentor. In October 2018, you take a second job cleaning offices for Vance Commercial, a commercial real estate development firm. Your shift starts at 9 p.m., after the office workers and executives have gone home. The office is located on the 4th floor of a glass tower at 150 East Broad Street, overlooking the Ohio State House. The tower is clean, silent, and smelling of industrial lavender wax, a complete contrast to the sour smell of cardboard and rotting cabbage at the warehouse. You spend 3 hours emptying trash cans, dusting desks, and vacuuming the executive suites. You empty a wastebasket containing 3 empty paper cups from Starbucks and a crumpled printout of interest rate forecasts from the Federal Reserve. While vacuuming the mahogany desk in Office 402, you see a printed syndication offering memorandum. It outlines the acquisition of a retail strip center on Lane Avenue for $2,400,000. The property, built in 1984, contains a mix of local retail tenants, including a vacant 2,400 square foot dry cleaner. The dry cleaner, owned by a man named Henry Ross, has been in the plaza since 1998, but his business has declined by 40% due to the rise of casual wear. You study the spreadsheet printed on the last page, memorizing the lease terms and the net operating income of $192,000. The document represents a world where money is not earned by lifting crates, but by arranging numbers. One night, the owner, Arthur Vance, returns to his office to retrieve a forgotten laptop. He always wears a gold Rolex Submariner and carries a black leather pad folio, symbols of a world you only see from the hallway. He finds you staring at the syndication document, the vacuum cleaner switched off. Instead of calling security, he asks you a single question about the math of the deal. He wants to know how you would improve the cash flow on a retail strip with a 12% vacancy rate. You do not answer immediately, knowing that a quick guess is worse than silence. You spend 18 nights studying the tenant layout and the local foot traffic patterns after your cleaning shift. You discover that the dry cleaner lease was paying $14 per square foot, while a boutique coffee shop down the street was paying $28. You write a 3-page proposal suggesting that the vacant space be partitioned into 3 micro-retail bays. The modification would allow high-margin boutique tenants to pay a higher rent per square foot, increasing total revenue. Arthur reads your proposal, but he does not offer you a raise on your $15 hourly cleaning rate. Something changes. Not dramatically. He offers you a 3% equity stake in the syndication if you can raise $50,000 from local investors to close the acquisition. You spend your weekends pitching local family physicians, presenting the rent rolls and the vacancy projections. You meet Dr. Kenneth Patel in the doctor's lounge at Riverside Methodist Hospital, where the air is thick with the smell of institutional coffee and clean linens. He agrees to invest $25,000 after you show him the lease terms and explain that the current cap rate is 8%. You raise the remaining $25,000 from Dr. Robert Sterling, an orthopedic surgeon who wants passive yield to offset his high income taxes. You discover that capital is not math, but psychology, and doctors are always looking for a safe yield. The second rule, salary is a ceiling dressed up as a floor, designed to trade your long-term leverage for short-term security. You raise the capital, the syndication closes, and you leave the warehouse forever. You have crossed the threshold from labor to equity, but you do not yet understand the weight of the new world. Part 3. The Build. In June 2021, the Lane Avenue property undergoes a cash-out refinance after you successfully partition the dry cleaner. An appraiser named Robert Chen values the Lane Plaza at $3,200,000 based on a market cap rate of 7.2%. Your 3% equity stake yields a distribution check of $142,000, which you receive via wire transfer. This is what leverage actually feels like. You do not spend a single dollar of this payout on personal luxury. You partner with Sarah Miller, a junior analyst from Arthur's firm who graduated from Ohio State University with a finance degree. Together, you form Miller and Vance LLC, renting a small 600-square-foot office in a converted warehouse in the Short North District. Your office in the Short North has a single window overlooking a brick alleyway, where you can hear the garbage trucks emptying dumpsters every Tuesday morning. You focus on a single niche, medical office buildings in secondary markets across the Midwest. You focus on outpatient surgical centers and kidney dialysis clinics because they are resistant to economic downturns and tenant turnover. Between 2022 and 2024, you acquire 14 clinics across Ohio and Indiana, building a portfolio worth $7,500,000. The tenants include national dialysis providers and local dental practices, signing 10-year leases with 2% annual rental escalations. You negotiate a 25-year amortization schedule with Huntington National Bank, which reduces your monthly debt service payment by $1,800 per property. You utilize the 1031 exchange system to defer $342,000 in capital gains taxes, rolling the equity into larger properties. Under Section 1031 of the Internal Revenue Code, you have 45 days after a sale to identify a replacement property and 180 days to close the transaction. The corporate tenants sign triple net leases, which means they cover all property taxes, maintenance, and insurance. You are no longer trading your hours for dollars, and your calendar is no longer tied to a time clock. The shift, you are now managing structures that generate capital while you sleep, utilizing other people's money to build wealth. By the time you turn 27, your paper net worth reaches $4,200,000. Your portfolio is supported by $2,800,000 in senior debt locked at a fixed interest rate of 4.25%. The third rule, below $500,000, you are still buying assets. Above it, assets start buying each other. Your life has transitioned from a series of tasks to a series of calculations, where every hour must yield a return. Part 4 is the arrival. In April 2025, you turn 28. To celebrate, you close on a modern concrete and glass residence overlooking the Scioto River at 4220 Riverside Drive. The house was designed by architect Jonathan Reed, featuring raw concrete walls, heated floors, and a custom security system. The concrete walls are 4 inches thick, designed to absorb heat during the day and release it at night, a feature that cost an additional $45,000 during construction. The purchase price is $1,800,000, and you wire the funds directly from your business account. You buy a 2023 Porsche 911 GT3 in chalk grey for $215,000, paying the full amount in cash at Midwestern Auto Group. The Porsche GT3 has a 4-liter naturally aspirated engine that produces 502 horsepower, a mechanical masterpiece that is entirely useless in the 35-mile-per-hour speed limits of Dublin, Ohio. The sales associate, Greg Vance, offers you an espresso while the wire transfer clears from your Chase account. Your personal balance sheet lists $6,214,000 in total assets and $1,400,000 in liquid cash. You sit on the imported Italian leather sofa in the center of your empty living room. The house is silent, except for the quiet hum of the high-efficiency climate control system. The machine doesn't ask if you're ready. It simply delivers the physical reality of what you wanted, without the emotional satisfaction you expected. You look at the river through the floor-to-ceiling windows and realize that the space is beautiful, but entirely cold. The friends you had when you were 19 do not return your text messages. You try to call your old high school friend, Mark, but he is working 2 jobs and tells you he doesn't have time to hang out at a riverside mansion. They see the river house and the Porsche not as achievements, but as barriers that separate you from them. The 4th rule, the cost of entry to the upper tier is the systematic elimination of the social connections that made you want to enter it. You have purchased the dream life, but the environment is sterile, devoid of the warmth of shared struggle. You are a success at this level. Specifically, you are a success in an empty room. Part 5. The cost. The true cost of your wealth is not the cash you spent on the house or the car. It is the realization that every relationship in your circle has become transactional. Your childhood friend Julian visits you in November 2025. Julian is 30 years old, his hands calloused and his neck sunburned from working outdoors. He sits at your kitchen island, holding a coffee mug that costs more than his hourly wage at his old landscaping job. He asks for a $35,000 loan to purchase commercial landscaping equipment for his startup business. You do not see a friend in need, you see a borrower with a debt-to-income ratio that would fail a basic risk analysis. There is no relationship here. There is a transaction. You find yourself asking him for a formal security agreement and a UCC-1 filing to protect your capital. He looks at you with a mixture of disappointment and confusion, then leaves without signing the paperwork. You realize you have lost the ability to trust someone without a contract. You spend your Saturdays in the offices of Sterling Wealth Partners, discussing trust structures with your wealth managers. The office, located on the top floor of the Myronova Tower, is silent and smells of expensive leather and polished glass. The attorney, Richard Sterling, explains how a Delaware statutory trust can protect your assets from future creditors. You pay a retainer of $12,000 to design an asset protection trust in South Dakota to shield your real estate from personal liability. This is legal. This is normal. Your calendar is managed by an assistant named Evelyn in 15-minute increments, leaving no room for spontaneous encounters. Evelyn uses a digital calendar system that sends you text reminders 5 minutes before every meeting, a system that transforms your day into a series of appointments. The rules become flexible. When a contractor named Thomas Callahan sues you over a disputed $80,000 invoice for roof repairs at your Marion clinic, you do not feel anger. Thomas Callahan is 54 years old, a second-generation contractor who employs 7 local carpenters. His business relies on steady cash flow to pay his weekly payroll of $8,500. You instruct your legal team to delay the court proceedings for 12 months to exhaust the contractor's cash reserves. The system allows you to win by default, not because you are right, but because you can afford the delay. The 5th rule, when your net worth becomes your identity, your liabilities become your personality. You have optimized your life for efficiency, but you have eliminated the space for genuine human connection. You have become the machine you once feared, protecting your assets at the expense of your humanity. Ending. You walk out to your driveway in the morning and look at the Porsche. For a second, the morning sun hits the chalk gray paint, and you see the reflection of a 1997 Volvo 850. Somewhere in Columbus right now, a 19-year-old is sitting in a car with 12 green pushpins holding up the headliner. They check their phone at 11:43 p.m., looking at a balance of $1,247. They don't know yet what the journey costs. not in dollars. The machine opens every morning. It takes whoever shows up. The balance is $1,247. It always starts there. It always will.